Hello and welcome to I Love a Pair, the podcast where we overshare so you don't have to.
This is Lizzie, my daughter, Gen Z, whatever the hell that means. Does it mean she's a zombie? Maybe sometimes in the morning. And professional eye roller.
And this is Leslie, the mum, the realist.
Not sister, we're often mistaken to be sisters because I was so young looking.
Whatever. The mum, the realist, and the one with all the stories I definitely didn't ask her to share.
Right guys, so to get the party started, we're going to start with something that's a wee bit revealing, wee bit chaotic as we said. It's going to be some embarrassing stories from our past. So Lizzie's going to start with one.
When I was younger, I shouted, "Wake up, man!" A man sleeping on a bench was probably homeless.
So another embarrassing story, which I'm going to include you in this one since you embarrassed yourself, is we were in Tesco's. Lizzie was about 3 and a woman who was very large was walking up towards us, and let's just say, she was sort of waddling with the extra weight she was carrying, and I knew that something would be said. So I was trying to distract Lizzie, and I was like, "Oh look, some interesting underpants over here." And then of course the woman walked past, and she was literally just past us, and all you heard was, "Mum, she's really fat, eh?" And I was just like, and then she said, "'Cause she's got loads of chins." And of course, I was just like, okay, come on then. Oh man, I made sure that I avoided that lady.
I guess karma got to me because now I have loads of chins.
Shush. Another one?
You doing the robot in front of my crush at the primary school disco. And I literally said to her, "Don't embarrass me in front of him." And of course, she decided to do the robot in front of him. If you don't know what the robot is, for the visual watcher, she'll demonstrate now. See, and right now I'm already embarrassed, so that's another embarrassing story.
Excuse me, I was a professional dancer at no point in my life. So,
pretty obvious.
Another embarrassing story. I don't actually think I've shared this one with Lizzie, but this is going to be a little glimpse into my youth. So, my second boyfriend, I think I was about 17, I told my mum and dad I was staying at my best friend's house, but I wasn't. So I stayed with my boyfriend at the time, and his grandparents were away for a few days, so he was house sitting and looking after the cat. So he had said, they wouldn't like anybody staying. No, they wouldn't approve of that. But he worked at a supermarket at the time, so he left at 6 o'clock to start his shift. So I woke up about 8:30. Oh, where am I? Forgetting where I was. And obviously the house is empty, so I had my pants on, and I just shoved a wee cardigan on and trotted down the stairs to the toilet. So I'm having a wee. Obviously the bathroom door's open because I'm on my own. And then I hear these voices, and I'm like, "Oh, what's that?"
Oh no.
And then directly in front of the toilet door is the front door.
Oh
and
no.
I saw 2 white-haired people entering the toilet. So I was mid-pee, shot up, and I was just like, because there was nowhere to hide because I was in the bathroom. And I literally just jumped into the bath because you couldn't see the bath from the hall. And then, of course, I was just like, oh God, because I didn't know what to do, because obviously he had said they're on holiday, they don't like people staying over. So, and I'm sitting on the toilet like a strange lassie with no bra on, just a cardigan and pants, hair or bedhead. And then I thought, right, I'm going to try and creep past and run up the stairs, get ready, and then just pretend I've arrived at the house. I don't even know what I was thinking. So I thought the guy had got into the kitchen, so I'm just like, creep, creep. And of course, old house. And I'm just like, oh, that's as subtle as a brick. And then the next thing I heard, hello. So I just spun round like, hi, who are you? And I said, oh, I'm Leslie. I'm a friend of Colin's. Now just picture what I was wearing. And he said, oh, nice to meet you. Did you stay the night? And of course, I'm thinking, oh no, they're going to be so angry. So I just said, no. And of course, I was just like, no, I always walk around just with pants and a wee cardigan on, no socks, shoes.
Bridget Jones.
Aye, like Bridget Jones going out in the snow. And then, of course, at this point, he invited me into the living room, you know, half dressed. And the mum was there, the granny was there, sorry. And then she said, oh, pleased to meet you. But there was just this awkwardness. And then I said, oh yeah. And again, did you stay the night, hen? And I went, no, I just came first thing before he went to work. At like 5:30 in the morning, which is normal. And then I said, oh, I thought you were away on holiday. And as if it wasn't bad enough, right? Oh no, we had to cut the holiday short. One of our best friends has died.
Oh
And
my
I was
gosh.
just like, hi. So of course I had to sit there drinking tea and eating a biscuit with that outfit on, and in walks my boyfriend at like 12 o'clock, and he just about, you know, pat his shants when he saw that I was sitting there half dressed with his gran and granddad, you know. But they took it well. I don't know
it
about
sounds
after
like
that, because we split up quite quickly afterwards. But yeah, that's one of my most embarrassing stories.
Did you flush the toilet though?
I did not, no, because that would have drawn attention. So then I had to go back to the toilet, because obviously I hadn't even finished peeing. But, you know, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. So, you know, that's the rule after all.
I've never heard of that. Okay, so talking of you sleeping over somewhere, and just sleeping in general, let's just say, the first time I was in Florida, which was I think 2017 or 2018, I fell asleep on a wall. It's like at a height that you can sit on, and I fell asleep on it. And I was like fully lying down on this wall, and apparently people who were walking past were finding it funny that I was just dead asleep on this wall.
I think we need to give a little bit of context.
Okay.
So Lizzie has to have a nap every day, right, during the day.
Already embarrassing.
She has to have at least an hour or two's nap, sometimes even longer than that, to be honest, regardless of where you are. So, you know, how many times we've been on holiday, and like that holiday to Florida, we would go for something for lunch, and the next thing you'd look at her, she'd finished her lunch and just be sitting with her head in her hands like that on the table. She was at a music festival last year, and in the middle of the field she just fell asleep, you know, just in the middle of nowhere, like away from all the stages and stuff, and looked like she was obviously spark out on drugs or drink. So folk walking past were like, is she alright? Is she alright? Is she alright? Paramedics came over and everything. Is she alright? And just like, yeah, she's just having a nap. As you do. But aye, that can be quite embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And also, talking of falling asleep randomly, I used to start falling asleep in class quite a lot in high school. And one time, because I sat at the front of my history class, my history teacher noticed that I started falling asleep. And at the time, Stranger Things, I think season 4 came out of Stranger Things, and one of the characters sings a song that goes, "Chrissy, wake up, I don't like this," and she sang that song in front of the whole class because I started falling asleep. But she changed the words to "Lizzie, wake up," and you cannot imagine how embarrassing that was.
Well, I mean, you do the same. Wake up, man! You know, that's just them getting your own back. That's what you call karma. You know?
So you've got the double chins and the wake up man.
I mean, I've got a couple of school stories. These things you never live down. You never forget. You never get over it. I used to blush a lot. I used to go bright red, and of course everyone would be like, "Beamer, Beamer." Don't have to do that anymore. Just means that you had a red face. This must be the Gen Z thing. Gen Zombie.
I think you're Gen X, maybe.
X.
Yeah.
For, extremely funny.
Ha ha ha.
I love a pun. Anyway, so in the dinner hall, and my food of choice at that time was very healthy, chips and cheese, and paid for it, went to get the cutlery, and of course it's those wooden trays that you had to hold on. Can you guess the next step?
You dropped it.
I dropped it. Instead of just smashing like normal, it fell and made obviously a big massive noise. But then, to add to my embarrassment, the plate started doing that spinning round thing, you know, like a 2p piece if you're spinning it, which then drew everyone's attention. So of course then everyone was like, "Hey!" clapping and cheering as I, you know,
people still do that.
tried to curl up my own arse in embarrassment. But it wasn't as embarrassing as the second story, which was at high school. Like Lizzie, I was very tall, so like what would be a mini skirt for the average person would literally like cover half my ass cheeks. So I had a long skirt on, and I used to walk from the school to the town centre, the high street, because that's where the bus station was to get back home. And so it was about up just over a mile walk, but it was quite a nice day, bit of a breeze. And so I had a long skirt on that day, and walking with my friend down to the high street. So just remember, it's a mile's walk, right? I had tights on underneath, but just the sort of sheer ones that you can sort of see through a little bit. And it was at the start of the high street itself, a mile away from the school, that someone tapped me on the shoulder, turned round, it was a wee old woman. It wasn't my ex-boyfriend's gran, just to confirm that. But this woman said, "Excuse me, hen, your skirt's tucked into your knickers." Yeah, a mile I had walked before anybody told me that.
Not even your friend?
No, because she was walking beside me, so she wasn't looking at my ass. But I did hear giggles in that occasionally from behind, but pardon the pun. My ass wasn't laughing, just to confirm that one. But yeah, that was quite mortifying, because obviously it would have been even more noticeable because my skirt was long. I did think it was a bit breezy right enough, but you know, it's Scotland, so what can you say?
Do you have one final embarrassing story? I can't think of any for me personally.
Well, obviously I'm a slightly older than you, just by a few years, so I have quite a lot of stories, and I was a teacher, still am, but I'm not in a classroom just now, but there's a lot of stories from that will be coming up in future podcasts. But for now, the one that comes to mind is there was a student teacher in with my class, and obviously they observe you teaching. So it was just after lunchtime, class all piled in, a 4th year class, and the student teacher's at the back of the room. So I'm introducing the lesson, telling them what they've got to do, and then I sort of catch the student's eye and she's like mouthing something to me, so I'll do it to you, see if you can work out what she was saying. And I was just sort of like... So I kept staring at her, and of course I couldn't really speak because I was trying to work out what she was saying. So she did it again and again, and then I just said, right, sorry guys, I'm really sorry, I don't know what it is you're saying. Because then she had been sort of motioning something as well, and then of course the whole class turned around and stared at her at this point, and then I said, sorry, what was it you were saying? And she said, your zip's down. And I was just like, oh, so it is. And then of course the class were just peeing themselves laughing, but I just, at least I didn't have my penguin pants on that day or something, you know.
Props to her though for actually trying to solve the problem.
Discreetly do it, yeah, but to be fair, the kids were used to me doing stupid things anyway, so that was probably quite tame.
We hope you've had an hell of a time with us today on Hell of a Pair.
Our little L-raisers. That's what you're going to be called from now on, by the way. So, L-raisers. And if you want to share some of your embarrassing stories, feel free to comment and let us know if you have anything worse than that or equally as cringeworthy, so that I can then go, beware, beware. This has been Hell of a Pair. Bye.
See you next time.